There's a kind of silence you only notice after war, the kind that doesn't hum with distant gunfire, doesn't vibrate under your feet like a convoy rolling past. Just birdsong, a wind chime, the hiss of sprinklers on a neighbor's lawn. That's what I had in Ashburn, Virginia. A quiet life, clean, ordered, predictable in the best damn way. My name's Jack Walker, 58, retired Marine Corps Force Recon. 2 tours in Fallujah, 3 in Helmand. Spent more time carrying a rifle than a briefcase. After the military, I started my own company, Walker Security Consulting. Hired vets, trained corporate teams, oversaw logistics for high-value assets. We kept it tight, we kept it honorable. We made it work. Linda, my wife, was the reason I stayed grounded. High school sweetheart. I have known her since we were 16. Back then, she was the one who snuck me notes under my locker when I got suspended for bloodying a bully's nose. She believed in me before I knew how to believe in myself. And then there was Michael, our boy, 24, just finished his bachelor's in cybersecurity. Smart kid, level head, kind eyes. He took after her in a lot of ways, gentle, curious. But the fire in him? That was mine. We had a 2-story colonial with a wraparound porch, dog named Baxter, and neighbors who waved when you pulled in from the store. I grill on Sundays. Linda still made peach cobbler like her mother taught her. We had our arguments, sure, mostly about me missing dinner when work ran late or her spending too much time at the club with friends. But nothing serious. Nothing that couldn't be fixed with a long talk and 2 fingers of bourbon on the back porch. At least that's what I told myself. Maybe I'd gotten too comfortable. Maybe I'd confused peace with blindness. Because the signs were there in hindsight. The sudden interest in new dresses, late charity meetings, her phone that never left her side anymore. She said I'd become emotionally distant. Hell, maybe I had. Years of war and business had built walls around my heart. Thick ones. But I never stopped showing up. I paid every bill. Protected this family. Loved her the only way I knew how, fiercely, loyally. I remember the day everything started to change. It was just a week before the cookout. She was in the kitchen, humming to herself while slicing strawberries for her stupid club's wellness brunch. I came in, kissed the back of her neck like I'd done for years. She flinched. Not enough to start a fight. Just enough for me to notice. I stepped back, said nothing, told myself it was stressful. Menopause. Whatever excuse would help me sleep. I should have trusted my gut. My gut never lies. But instead, I finished my coffee, gave her a smile, and drove to work, thinking tomorrow would be the same as today. That Michael would keep showing up for Sunday dinners. That Linda would keep humming old Alabama songs in the kitchen. And that the walls I'd built had finally given me something worth protecting. That's the thing about peace. It doesn't scream when it dies. It slips out the back door while you're not looking. And I wasn't looking. But I'm looking now. I hadn't seen Ryan Hale in over a decade. Last I heard, he was flipping foreclosures down in Carolina, married to a woman half his age and driving a Cadillac he couldn't afford. We served together in Kandahar, and back then, he was the kind of guy who always had a pack of smokes, a dirty joke, and a habit of making trouble disappear. We were never close, not like brothers, but there's a bond you earn under fire that doesn't go away. So when I got the call from him out of nowhere, I was surprised. "Jack," he said, voice slick like used motor oil. "I'm back in Virginia. Got a couple properties under development in Loudon. Thought we should catch up. Old times and all that." We met at a barbecue joint off Route 7. The kind of place with license plates on the wall and grease in the air. He walked in wearing an open-collared shirt, sunglasses on top of his head, and a grin too wide for a man his age. "Still cutting your own steaks, Marine?" he joked, slapping my shoulder. I didn't laugh. "I eat what I kill." He chuckled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Same old Jack. We ordered brisket and talked about the past. Combat stories, failed marriages, the men we'd buried and the ones we'd try to forget. He told me about his son Ethan, now in his 20s and working in tech, according to him, though the way he said it made me think the kid probably just sat behind a desk watching screens all day. I mentioned Michael, his degree, his potential, his loyalty. I said it with pride. Real pride. Ryan smiled like he'd just drawn a winning hand. Crazy how time flies, huh? Kids growing up. Us getting older, he said, sipping sweet tea. Tell you what, I'd love to stop by sometime. Grill out, catch up, maybe have Ethan meet your boy. They could probably talk shop. Yeah, I replied, glancing at my watch. Maybe Sunday. Doing steaks for the wife and kid. His smile twitched, just for a second. That'd be perfect. I should have paid attention to the way he said wife, drawn out, like the word tasted good in his mouth. I brushed it off. Stupid mistake. The truth is, I didn't trust Ryan. Never fully had. He had that kind of charm that made women lean in and men double-check their wallets. But I figured he was just an old war dog looking for a place to land. What I didn't know was that while I was out here trying to salvage what was left of honor and brotherhood, Ryan had been busy rewriting the rules. And the worst part? Linda already knew he was coming. She didn't even blink when I mentioned the cookout. "Oh, Ryan?" she said, too casually. "Haven't seen him in ages. That'll be nice." That was the first time I felt the temperature drop in the room. She was chopping onions at the counter, and for a moment, she stopped, blade hovering midair. Then she went right back to it, humming that same damn tune again. Something old and sweet, but suddenly sharp. I stood there watching her, one hand on my belt buckle, the other gripping the edge of the granite counter. And for the first time in years, I felt something shift in my gut. Not suspicion, not jealousy, instinct. The same instinct that once told me when a convoy was walking into an ambush. That same itch behind the ribs. Something was off. I didn't say anything. Not yet. But I started watching more carefully. The next few days, I noticed little things. Her smiles didn't quite reach her eyes. Her phone always flipped screen down on the table. She'd start wearing perfume again, the kind she hadn't touched in years. And Ryan, he started texting more than a friend should. "Looking forward to Sunday, brother. Hope your grill's still hot as hell. Tell Linda I said hi." I told myself I was overthinking it, that I was just a bitter old soldier seeing shadows where there were none. But the truth? The storm was already here, and I was standing dead center, smiling at the thunder, thinking it was just wind. The smell of charcoal and hickory filled the air as I flipped ribeyes on the grill. Bacon-wrapped asparagus was already sizzling on the top rack, and Baxter, my old mutt, laid under the patio table like a king guarding his court. It was the kind of Sunday we used to live for. Sun out, beer cold, the soft hum of country music in the background. Linda moved around the yard like a hostess from a magazine shoot. White sundress, glass of wine. That polished smile she'd perfected over decades of dinner parties and club galas. From the outside, we looked like the damn American dream. But I could feel it. Something just beneath the surface. Like a landmine you can't quite see but know damn well is there. Ryan and his son Ethan showed up a little after 2. Ethan had the lazy confidence of a rich kid who'd never had to dig a ditch or clean a rifle. Mid-20s, expensive watch, that soft jawline that comes from never taking a punch. He called me sir, which I appreciated, but it felt rehearsed. Ryan strode up like he owned the damn place, wearing aviators and a loud Hawaiian shirt that would have gotten him shot in the core. "Smells like heaven out here," he said, giving Linda a hug that lasted half a breath too long. His hand slid lower than it needed to. I kept my eyes on the grill. "Hope you like your steak medium rare." "Oh, you know me, Jack," he grinned. "I like things hot and bleeding." He meant the meat, I told myself. But the smug look in his eyes said otherwise. Michael was already out back, setting up a cornhole with Ethan. The 2 boys got along easily, like they didn't know their bloodlines were about to turn into battlegrounds. They laughed, talked about computers, even planned to meet up next week for some gaming tournament. Michael had always been open-hearted like that, quick to trust, slower to suspect. That part he got from Linda. I stayed quiet most of the afternoon, observing. Linda poured Ryan another glass of wine without him asking. Ryan knew where the silverware drawer was, said it hadn't changed since high school. When he offered to help her in the kitchen, she didn't hesitate. 15 minutes later, I walked in to grab more paper towels and found them whispering near the sink. "Too close. Way too close." She pulled away like a startled deer when she saw me. "Just grabbing him some aspirin," she said, smiling. "Ryan's old back injury is acting up." He smirked. "Can't handle that military retirement life like you, Jack." "Yeah," I said, narrowing my eyes, "but I've still got good aim." The silence that followed wasn't long, but it sure as hell wasn't comfortable. That evening, we sat around the fire pit. I lit a cigar, the good kind I save for holidays and long talks. Ryan declined, said he was trying to be healthier. I almost laughed. The man drank like a fish and flirted like he was 20. Linda sat between us, laughing too loud at his stories. I caught her brushing ash off his knee like it was nothing. But it wasn't nothing. Not to me. I didn't say a word. Not then. Because that's the thing about war, you don't shoot at shadows. You wait. You confirm. You get the whole layout before you pull the trigger. After they left, Michael helped me clean up. "Ethan's cool," he said, gathering plates. "Kind of a geek, but smart. Funny." I nodded. "Glad you two hit it off." He hesitated. "Hey, Dad, is Mom okay?" She seemed, I dunno, weird today. That caught me off guard. "What do you mean?" He shrugged. "Just distant. Not really herself." I looked at my son then, his honesty, his simplicity, and I realized I wasn't the only one feeling it. "People change," I said, "but sometimes not for the better." That night I couldn't sleep. I lay there beside Linda, staring at the ceiling fan as it spun slow circles in the dark. Her back was to me. It had been for months. There was a time I would have reached for her, whispered something soft, tried to close the distance. Not anymore. I knew something was coming, and when it did, I wouldn't flinch. I wasn't looking for anything. That's the truth. Dad always taught me that if you go digging, you better be ready to find bones. But I wasn't digging. I was just trying to fix a Wi-Fi issue in Mom's tablet before she headed to her club's planning retreat. Simple stuff. She'd been complaining all morning about slow streaming. Said it was lagging too much during Pilates videos. I was halfway through resetting the router settings when a notification popped up on her screen. Dropbox. A shared folder titled Wellness 2023. I clicked it out of habit. The first few files were what I expected, flyers for yoga sessions, boring PowerPoints. But then I saw it. A video file. E+LDA Memories MP4. Ethan, Linda, my mother and my friend. My thumb hovered over the screen. I should have closed it, walked away, but I didn't. I pressed play. At first it was blurry, someone laughing, camera tilted sideways. Then the image stabilized. There they were. My mother in a robe, hair wet like she'd just showered, sitting on the edge of a hotel bed. Ethan stood behind her, rubbing her shoulders like he owned her. Then he kissed her neck. She didn't stop him. She leaned into it, whispered something about how alive he made her feel. I dropped the tablet. It hit the floor with a crack. My heart was racing, mouth dry. My stomach flipped like I'd swallowed gravel. I backed away from the screen like it was a bomb about to go off. Couldn't breathe. I couldn't even curse. I just stood there, shaking. Everything shattered in that moment. All those nights when Mom told Dad she was out with the ladies, or that she needed space to breathe. All those dinners where she smiled too tightly, laughed too much. I thought they were just growing apart. I didn't think she was doing that with him, Ethan. The same guy I'd been playing co-op games with last night. The same guy I told my dad was cool. I was going to be sick. I grabbed my car keys and drove. Fast. No direction. Just away. Ended up at a strip mall parking lot. I sat there, engine running, fists clenched on the wheel, for almost an hour, just replaying the video in my head. Her voice. His hands. I didn't cry. I wanted to, but something else took over. Rage. It wasn't the kind that explodes. It was cold, quiet, focused. I was going to confront Ethan, but not like some hormonal teenager yelling in the street. No, I was going to do it right. Get the whole truth. Document everything. I knew where he lived. I knew his routines. He was about to find out what happens when you betray the wrong family. And Mom? I didn't know what to say to her yet. but she'd look me in the eyes soon, and she'd see exactly what she destroyed. Ethan lived in a sterile high-rise near the tech park. One of those places where the walls are white, the furniture's gray, and everything looks like it came straight from an influencer's feed. I parked 2 blocks away. Didn't want my car recognized. Didn't want me recognized. I had the video backed up on a thumb drive in my pocket, wrapped in a plastic bag just in case I had to hand it over to someone official. I didn't go in swinging. I knocked. Calm. Ethan opened the door in joggers and a stupid sleeveless hoodie like he was about to shoot a fitness promo. "Michael? Yo, what's up, man?" he said, all teeth and clueless charm. "You okay? You look." I stepped in without asking, pushed him back with my shoulder. Hey, what's going on?" I shut the door behind me, turned to face him. "Where is it?" "Where's what?" "The laptop. The one you used to record her." His face twisted. "What are you talking about?" I pulled out my phone, opened the Dropbox app, and shoved it in his face. "This. You filmed my mom. And you saved it. You sick little..." Whoa, hold on, man." I grabbed the collar of his hoodie and slammed him into the wall. "You touched my mother. You smiled in my dad's face. You hung out in our backyard. Did you think this would stay hidden forever?" I didn't. "Look, it wasn't like that. She said they were separated. She said your dad didn't care about her anymore." I stepped back. She lied. And even if she was telling the truth, what kind of man takes that bait? He rubbed his jaw. "Look, I didn't plan it. It just happened. Your mom's not. Say one more word about her, and I swear I'll knock your teeth down your throat." I wasn't even yelling. That's what scared him. He pointed toward his bedroom. "It's in there. Laptop's in the desk drawer. Go ahead. Take it." I kept my eyes on him the whole way. The laptop was where he said. I unplugged it, tucked it under my arm, and turned back. "This ends now, Ethan. If you try to erase anything, if you breathe about this to anyone, I'll make sure the whole damn world knows what you are." He didn't stop me. He didn't even try. By the time I got to the car, my hands were shaking again. Not from fear, not even from rage, from betrayal. I drove straight home. Mom was in the kitchen, prepping tea like nothing had happened, like our lives weren't already on fire. She looked up when I walked in. "Michael? Honey, where were you? You've been gone all day." I set the laptop down on the counter. Hard. She froze. "Don't lie," I said. "Don't make this worse than it already is." Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. "Michael, I made a mistake. I didn't mean for you to find out like this. You didn't mean for me to find out at all." Tears welled up in her eyes. "It was just a moment of weakness. Ryan, he was there for me when your father wasn't. I didn't plan." "Don't blame him," I cut in. "Don't you dare blame him. You're the one who stood in this kitchen every day and smiled in Dad's face like nothing was wrong. You're the one who let this happen. To me. To him." She reached for my hand. I pulled back like she was poisoned. "I'm going to tell Dad everything," I said. "All of it. You don't get to hide anymore." She nodded slowly, voice shaking. "I understand." "No, Mom, you really don't." Michael didn't remember the hit. Just the sharp scrape of asphalt against his face and the sound of a car door slamming shut. When he came to, his wrists were zip-tied behind his back, mouth gagged, and the back seat reeked of cheap cologne and panic. "Don't move," a voice hissed from the front. It was Ethan, driving. Ryan sat beside him, silent, jaw tight. Michael's eyes were still blurry from the blow, but the anger burned clear. His breathing was slow, steady, like his dad had taught him when he was young. "Breathe through chaos. Don't feed it." "Sorry about this, Mikey," Ethan said, not sounding sorry at all. "But you weren't supposed to see that video. You don't understand what you're blowing up." "Shut up," Ryan snapped. "Drive." The road turned from suburban asphalt to cracked gravel. Pines thickened around them, tall and silent. 30 minutes later, the car rolled to a stop outside a rundown cabin that looked like it hadn't seen a tenant since the Clinton administration. They dragged Michael inside and zip-tied him to a chair. No windows, one bare bulb swaying overhead. Ryan knelt in front of him, calm but dead-eyed. Listen to me, son. This isn't about hurting you. This is about cleaning up a mess. You don't know what your father is capable of. If he sees that video, everything burns. For you, for your mother, for her reputation, and for me. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to unlock that damn laptop and delete the video. You do that, we drive you home. No harm, no foul. Michael stared through him. Ryan leaned closer. You think your daddy's a hero? You have no idea the kind of blood that man has on his hands. Trust me, we're doing you a favor. Michael didn't answer. Ryan slapped him. Hard. Not enough to break anything, but enough to make a point. I said, delete it. Ethan paced in the corner, sweating now. We should have just burned the laptop, he muttered. This was a mistake. We shouldn't have. Ryan snapped his fingers. Go wait outside. Ethan obeyed like a dog. A few miles away, Linda's hands trembled as she followed the GPS ping on her burner phone. Ryan had made one mistake. He didn't disable the old family tracker app on Linda's phone. The one Jack had installed years ago for safety. She shouldn't have come. She should have called the police. But something in her cracked when she heard Michael was missing. She parked far enough to not be seen and crept up to the cabin. Through the broken blinds, she saw Michael, blood on his lip, wrists tied. Ryan looming, her breath caught. She reached for her phone. She almost hit call 911. Almost, but then headlights flared behind her. She turned, heart pounding. It was Jack. He stepped out of his truck slow and calm, like he was walking into a combat zone. No wasted movement, no hesitation. He walked right past her like she wasn't even there. I'd been tracking Linda's car since she left the house in a panic. She didn't know I'd installed a second GPS under the chassis last year after she started volunteering late into the night. The location made no sense. An abandoned cabin out by Fort Valley. No cell towers. No neighbors. Nothing but woods and shadows. By the time I got there, the sun was bleeding into the treetops. I parked just off the gravel trail, far enough back to kill my lights. I saw Linda's car, half covered in dust. Saw her crouched near the brush, eyes wide, frozen like a deer that just realized the hunter isn't aiming at her. He's aiming past her. I didn't speak, just walked past her. She whispered my name, tried to grab my arm. I didn't stop. Inside, it smelled like mildew and sweat. I moved silent, stepped slow and measured. My sidearm, a SIG P226, was tucked behind my back. Habit. Through the crack in the door, I saw my son. Beaten, zip-tied to a chair, blood on his lip. And Ryan, kneeling in front of him, leaning in close, whispering something with the same oily grin he used to pull on girls at base bars. I stepped in. Get away from him. Ryan jerked like he'd been hit with a taser. Michael's head snapped up. Relief, rage, and pride all hit his face at once. Ryan stood slowly. Jack, I can explain. I drew the SIG and leveled it. No, you can't. Hey, easy, man. Nobody's dead here. We were just talking, sorting things out. You kidnapped my son, I said, voice low. You hit him, tied him up, and you filmed my wife. Ethan came stumbling in from the back door, holding a golf club like he had any idea what to do with it. Drop it, I told him. He hesitated. I racked the slide. He dropped it like it burned. Linda crept in behind me, shaking. Jack, please, don't do anything you can't take back. I kept my eyes on Ryan. You're lucky he's still breathing. And you better thank God I'm not the man I used to be. Because back then, we didn't arrest guys like you. We bagged and buried them. Ryan's smirk cracked, finally. He held up his hands. What do you want? Justice. The legal kind. You'll both walk out of here in cuffs. And I'll make damn sure that video goes public. Your face, your voice, everything. You're done. Michael struggled in the chair. I moved to him, never lowering the pistol, and cut the zip ties with my boot knife. He stood. I've got the laptop. It's all still there. I backed it up. Good, I said. You did good. Ethan whimpered in the corner. I glanced back at Linda. You chose them. You protected them. Her voice cracked. I didn't know they'd take him. I didn't want you to find out like this. You don't get to decide how I find out. And you sure as hell don't get to call yourself family after today. I nodded at Michael. Let's go. We're calling the sheriff on the drive back. We left them standing there. Ryan in silence, Ethan crying. Linda with her arms wrapped around herself like a coat couldn't save her from the cold she created. I didn't look back. That part of my life was already behind me. I've seen men shot, burned, buried. But nothing hits like betrayal from the people you built a life for. 2 days after the rescue, I stood in the county courthouse in a pressed shirt and clean jeans, flanked by my attorney and my son. The courtroom smelled like wood polish and stale sweat. Ryan and Ethan sat at the defendant's table in shackles. No more smirks, no smooth-talking charm. Just two cowards finally out of rope. Linda didn't speak. Not in court. Not to me. She sat in the back row, sunglasses hiding the mess behind her eyes. I didn't offer her a glance. Michael handed over everything: videos, backup drives, screenshots, timestamps. That kid held it together better than I ever could have hoped for. The prosecutor didn't even need a trial. The plea deal came fast. Ryan, 10 years for kidnapping, unlawful restraint, and tampering with evidence. Ethan, 5 years, with 3 suspended for cooperation. He talked, spilled everything, confirmed the timeline, the videos, the motel receipts, his father's plan, my wife's part in it. Linda avoided charges by a thread. No proof she was involved in the kidnapping. Just betrayal, public and personal. And that was enough. I filed for divorce the same day. The papers were already in my truck, signed, notarized, and final. There was no speech, no drawn-out fight. I handed them to her outside the courthouse. She tried to speak, but I raised a hand. I don't want to hear a damn thing, I said. You made your choice, and now I'm making mine. Her lip trembled. Jack, I still love you. I looked her dead in the eyes. You don't even know what that word means. I walked away before she could reply. I never looked back. Michael moved in with me permanently. His words, not mine, said he didn't want to be in that house anymore. Didn't want to sit at that kitchen table knowing who'd been at it. I didn't blame him. We got a small place near the Shenandoah. Tight but clean. Peaceful. I grilled burgers while he watched documentaries about cyber forensics. He started talking about law school. Said he wanted to help families like ours. Ones that got torn apart from the inside. There were quiet nights when we didn't talk much. Just shared a drink. Watched the sun go down. Listened to the wind through the pines. And in those silences, I found something close to healing. People say betrayal leaves a scar. I disagree. Scars fade. This was carved into bone. But pain changes a man. And if he's strong enough, it doesn't break him. It sharpens him. 6 months later, I stood in front of my new shop, Walker Fabrication and Tactical, etched in steel across the glass. Watching Michael help an older veteran load a custom security gate into his pickup. The sun was warm on my neck, my coffee was still hot, and, for the first time in a long damn time, I felt clear. Not happy exactly, but clean. Like everything false had been scraped off and burned away. After the divorce finalized, I sold the house, gave Linda her share and left the rest behind. I didn't fight her for the furniture, the wedding china, or the damn porch swing we built when Michael was 7. I didn't want the physical pieces of a life I no longer respected. She left town shortly after the scandal broke. Couldn't handle the whispers, the looks at the store, the closed doors at her charity board. Last I heard, she was living in Roanoke with her sister. I didn't care enough to follow up. Michael took it hard at first. Still does sometimes. I catch him staring off at nothing, jaw tight, hands clenched, like he's trying to reconcile the woman who packed his lunch with the one who betrayed him so completely. But he's strong. Stronger than I ever gave him credit for. He's back in school now, criminal justice major. I want to work in digital investigations. Says he wants to hold people accountable the right way. Someone's got to dig through the digital rot, he told me once. May as well be me. I nodded. Didn't say much, just clapped his shoulder. A few weeks ago, he asked if I regretted not going after Ryan harder. Not with a gun, he clarified, but publicly, making sure everyone knew what he did, ruining him completely. I lit a cigar and thought about it. I could've, I said, but it's not my job to make the fire burn forever, just to make damn sure it started. Besides, the prison's handling that part just fine. As for me, I let go of the high-stakes contracts, the corporate clients, the government work. Now I run a small security firm out of a converted machine shop. Just me, 2 retired rangers, and a couple of good kids from the trade school. We do installs, consulting, and a little fabrication. Honest work. No politics. No boardrooms. No suits. Just steel, sweat, and the sound of things clicking into place. That's all I need now. One night, Michael and I sat on the back deck of our rental place. Steaks gone, beer bottles sweating in the evening breeze. He asked me if I'd ever trust again. Like, with someone else, he said. Romantically. I looked out at the trees. I trusted the core. I trusted men with my life. I trusted your mother with my heart. Some paid it back. Some didn't. But trust isn't a gift. It's a risk. And I don't regret taking it. He nodded, quiet for a while. Me either, he finally said. I just wish it hadn't ended like that. I didn't say it out loud, but I thought it. It didn't end. It shifted. And sometimes that's all a man can ask for. That the world doesn't break him, it just changes shape. When the dust clears, the pieces still form something solid. Something real. So no, I don't sit around wondering why she did it. I don't scroll through old photos or reread texts like a broken man looking for closure. Closure's not something you get. It's something you build. With blood, sweat, and hard truth. And in the end, I didn't lose a wife. I reclaimed my damn self.